When I was growing up, one of the more famous blockbuster movies was called Gladiator. The movie, the actor Russell Crowe plays a Roman general named Maximus. And at one point, giving a speech to his troops, he says one of the most striking lines. He calls out, "Brothers, what we do in life echoes in eternity." What we do in life echoes in eternity. In other words, our actions matter. In the end, they can lead to either life or death, heaven or hell. It's like this. If God doesn't exist, I can do whatever I want, because in the end, nothing I do matters. But if God does exist, I can't do whatever I want, because in fact, everything I do matters. This is the message of today's readings, that our actions matter. They will have consequences. They matter a lot. That first reading from the prophet Ezekiel, we hear, when someone virtuous turns away from virtue to commit iniquity and dies, it is because of the iniquity he committed that he must die. But if he turns from the wickedness and does what is right and just, he'll preserve his life. Good actions will have good consequences. Bad actions, bad consequences. But here too we see the sequence of time. We've heard it said perhaps, every saint had a past. Meaning all have a history of sin. But the good news here, I often say, as long as somebody is alive, they have breath. By God's grace, there is hope for their conversion to saintliness, sanctity, a future of hope. In the second reading, St. Paul writes, "Having you the same attitude that is also in Christ Jesus, humbly regard others as more important than yourselves, each looking out not for his own interests, but also for those of others." In other words, act like Christ acted. Love like Christ loved. Considering the good of others even before oneself. It's about how we are living. And then the gospel. This maybe seems peculiar sort of scenario that Jesus lays out, but it makes it crystal clear. Actions matter even more than words, because we know at times our words may appear better or make ourselves out to be better than how we behave. Jesus asked them, "What is your opinion? A man had 2 sons. He came to the first and said, 'Son, go out to work in the vineyard today.' The son said in reply, 'I will not.'" Sort of like stubborn, maybe lazy, or selfish, rebellious response. But afterwards, he changed his mind and went. So after the fact, the behavior, the action changed. But then the man came to the other son, gave the same order. And here's where I think most of us, we need to consider, how are we living? He comes to the other son, same order, go out and work in the vineyard today. And he said in reply, "Yes, sir." It can be like many of us, "Yes, God, I love you. Yes, God, I will serve you. Yes, God, I will turn away from sin." But he does not. he does not in his actions. His words were right, but not the actions. And Jesus says, which of the two did his Father's will? And they answered, the first. Our actions matter. And for us to have this question, how do people know if we are sincere Christians? It's one thing to speak of God and of our love of neighbor and the ideal of our Christian faith. But it's an entirely different matter of significance to behave as a Christian, to act like a Christian. How do people know if we're sincere Christians? It's by our love. It's by our actions. What we do in life indeed will echo in eternity as eternal consequences. And they will know, we can tell, for followers of Christ, by our love, if we behave as Christ would have us behave.